Spiritual awakening is something that's happening on the planet every single day to every single one of us. When you understand that you're a spiritual being, you start to operate and move differently. You start to live your life according to an intuitive guidance. You start to move with a sense of responsibility, congruence with the universe instead of against it. And you realize that everything that's happening is happening for you. It's not something you can escape because spirituality is our nature. As humans, we had to descend from the higher dimensional plane as light beings to incarnate here. And afterwards, we will return as that light back into pure light essence. That's why we're here. We're here to experience the reawakening of ourselves, the reawakening of our purpose here. And everything that we experience, from AI to the problems, the stresses of our day, everything is here as a tool for us to learn, grow, and expand our consciousness. And that's what we're here for.
Welcome, Ari. Thank you, man, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Excited for our conversation. Man, I think you are a guest that I know the least out of all of the guests that we literally met 10 minutes ago. I mean, we're good friends with Nick, who recommended for you to come on the show. So I'm excited for our conversation. Why don't you give listeners a quick kind of background, who you are, what you do, and why you do it in the world, maybe with the lens of kind of like big achievements that you've so far been able to achieve in life, and just a little bit of background of who you are.
Yeah. Definitely. So I'm a holistic coach, and I help people tune their passions into viral content. Also a meditation teacher, so I've studied the cutting edge of meditation, and I teach meditation as well for helping people open up their voice. And I'm a musician, so I'm a many card person, but mainly I would identify myself as a musician and coach, and music is my highest passion. I love to make a difference and help people open their minds, go through awakenings through music, meditation, and coaching. That's my goal.
Interesting. Yeah. So you don't see yourself as being first as a creator. I mean, maybe not first, but as one of the big things about you. You are kind of well-known creator, content creator, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm a creator. First. You could say first, second. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a creator. I've scaled my following to over 480,000 followers organically over the past couple of years.
Cool.
So grateful for every single one of my followers. That's been a long journey, and
for sure. Maybe share a little bit about that journey. How did you start, and what led you to?
Yeah, it's crazy actually. It's a good question. So I had a massive spiritual awakening when I had a meeting with a shaman, and this was a friend of my parents who my dad introduced me to. I went to the shaman energy healer, and when I went to this energy healer, I had this huge just somatic experience where I released something energetically. I can't really describe it, but something happened in that shaman's office that changed me. To this day, I have not been the same. The next day after the energy healing appointment, I came home and I just felt like speaking, and I felt like an opening in my throat, and that's how I know energy healing is just very powerful.
Oh, wow.
And that was part of my spiritual awakening. It was a big pivotal point. I like to call them moments of truth on my journey. There are moments of truth. And that point with the shaman, that was a moment that opened up my throat to speaking. The next day, I made my first piece of content and started to go viral shortly after that.
No way.
Yeah.
You haven't had much experience creating content before?
This was 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Had no experience.
Before that, you had no experience?
None.
Yeah?
I mean, I made Vines at maybe 12 years old or 14.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And the shaman, you didn't use any medicine? You just went for like an energy healing session?
No medicine, completely sober. The shaman was just leading me through this breath work, and it was just light breathing and energy healing, shamanic energy healing that she was doing on me. And then I had this surreal experience where I had hands touching me all up and down my body. I felt hands holding me first at my arms, and then I felt hundreds of hands as I was breathing holding me. And I actually cried in that moment in the shaman's office.
Yeah, because it was released. Yeah.
I shed a tear, and then because it felt so held and warm. And then I felt and heard a voice say, "It's okay. We're not going to leave you. We're always here." Hundreds of hands holding me, and remember, completely sober.
Wow.
Yeah, did not take anything, nothing.
Okay.
This was just off of me breathing. And that moment really changed my life. That was, I'd say, the pivotal point of my journey, that energy healing session. Yeah.
And then why did you even go to Shaman? What was your intention to go there?
I wouldn't even say I had an intention.
Okay.
My dad wanted me to meet her.
Yeah.
My parents are both very spiritual people. So both my parents are yogis. And I was forced to meditate growing up as a kid. So blessed to have really spiritual parents and have been guided into the spiritual path from a young age. Very grateful for my parents. So
how would you describe kind of like the delta between you prior to that session and after? Or maybe like describing the state you were in or the type of mental framework you were in prior to that, and then how did that change you also? Yeah,
great question. It's so interesting because spiritual awakenings, they happen in waves, and there are moments that you have these moments of awareness and awakening where you feel responsibility, like a new awareness is coming upon your sight, and you understand you're more than this physical body. You're more than what you've thought you were for so long. You're more than just an accident. You're more than just something random happening.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments in the shaman's office. There have been multiple moments where I've had these waves of awakening, but every single one that I've had has transformed me and brought new awareness to a point where it's like this energy moving through my body that I can't resist. It's like something moving through me, and it's forcing me into a different life. It's forcing me to speak. It's forcing me through this sense of responsibility. Before that shaman's office, I didn't have any desire to really speak or put myself out there. And then after I went through the energy healing session, it was like this invisible weight was lifted off my shoulders. And that's what awareness is like. When you gain new levels of awareness, it's like there's no way that you could have been aware of something that there was a veil over your eyes for.
Sure. Yeah. And do you think anyone can get to similar levels of awareness? Or is there like a prerequisite, or almost like this veil can only be revealed if you do X, Y, and Z? Let's say you have your spiritual practice, you have discipline, any kind of other things that are preventing people from experiencing something like that.
I wouldn't say so. I think internal resistance and avoiding the truth of reality, but everyone is a spiritual being, and we're all in this spiritual video game where there are waves of awakening happening all the time.
Yeah.
They're pulsing onto our conscious field, and every single one of us, whether or not we accept them and accept our nature as spiritual beings, that's up to every individual. But every single person on the planet is being affected by these spiritual waves of awakening. That's the truth.
You mentioned about hundreds of hands kind of like holding you and feeling safe. Tell me more, like, were they your ancestors, spirits? Like, who did you feel like they are?
Yeah. Ancestors, angels, spirit guides, ones that have come before me that are watching over me. I could feel this force and this nest of love just carrying me, and it was so much more deep. Like, even as I'm speaking, I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it, because it was like hundreds of hands just up and down my body, like holding me, and it was a feeling that felt so familiar, like more than just ancestors, like beings that were supporting me, but mainly ancestors, angels, guides.
Have you had other experiences encountering them since then?
Yeah, for sure.
During different psychedelic experiences, I would imagine.
In psychedelic experiences, I've sat with ayahuasca 23 times now. So for sure inside of ayahuasca, I've experienced that. However, just in ordinary life, I think we all can tune into our ancestors, because if you think about it, right, our ancestors are in our DNA, right? Quite literally, there's this force that moves us unconsciously, and that's the force of the ones that came before us.
Yeah.
It's in our DNA.
Yeah. And how do you utilize that if in any way in your life, like maybe getting certain parts of like let's say you're in a situation where you don't have an experience navigating it and then you're inquiring wisdom or advice from that. Is that something you do at all?
Yeah. I call it next generational living. So you have to live in accordance with understanding you are the next generation of your lineage. You are the pattern breaker. You are the force that changes things in your family. Every single one of us has a force that moves through us in our DNA. And we've come here from that spiritual realm to break patterns, to be something greater, something new. And that's the point of this life in a way, right?
How much of that do you capture, record, journal, and what's your practice of capturing insights that come from the ethereal, I would say?
Just being.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, living through it, right?
And then sharing it when you share, that's one of your ways of capturing it, right? Is that in the moment? Do you do you have like a journaling practice, for example?
Yeah, I journal every night. I have a routine for journaling. So I do 3 gratitudes, 2 things I'm proud of finishing, and then 1 thing I'm going to do to make tomorrow better. But when it comes to content specifically, I just love to create in the moment. Like when I have an idea, capture it. I make like 5 to 10 pieces of content every day. Just most of them don't get posted.
Okay.
I've trained myself to just do it for fun. I love making content at this point. I mean, you can train yourself to get good at anything and like it.
Of course, yeah.
Push-ups, you might not like it, but you force yourself to do it enough, you'll like it. It's like a game.
Right. Yeah. And so now you're teaching people how to communicate authentically. Well, how would you describe the value or like the teachings that you deliver to others?
Yeah, so I specialize in helping people tune deep into their heart because the heart is a transmitter of energy and it moves through the voice, right? Even as I'm speaking right now, you can feel the emotion energetically from my voice to your ears, to your body, to your heart, because the vocal cord's an emotional transmitter.
So you help people to speak from their heart. Is that the main kind of like value? Yeah,
I help people first step into a higher version of themselves, stepping into a higher frequency, stepping deeper into their heart and getting in alignment with what they truly love. And then when they're in their heart, right, it's a lot easier to create content when you're in your heart.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to create and speak when you're in your heart. If you're trying to think from your mind and you're trying to make a piece of content, it just comes out weird. People can feel that. But if you're creating from your heart and you're truly speaking from something you want to express and share into the world, content's easy. It's just picking up your phone and speaking. So first, what I do is I help all my clients tune into their heart through meditation, which is what I teach. Tune deep into the heart center, breathe into the heart, get in tune with what they really love and what their purpose is. And then from that place of knowing, speaking and expressing out into the world and projecting that love outwards.
And how does the your ability to communicate, I'm sure, plays a major role in even if you are tapped into your heart and speaking from your heart, but if you don't have the skill of communicating or converting your ideas into language, it's going to be challenging for you to how do you like help those people?
So I teach tonality, vocal expression. Actually, communication is 70 to 90% nonverbal. So when people think that they're listening to the words, they're actually hearing the body language, the tonality in your voice. They're also hearing the waveform, the feeling that you're projecting from your heart. So this is all energy, if you think about it. It's the energy behind the voice that is real communication. Humans are telepathic. We're telepathic beings. Modern science is going to catch up to that slowly.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. Communication isn't even words. It's energy. It's transmissions.
Yeah.
So that's key.
Okay, let's go there. So is that could you actually do so somehow you're doing a little bit on the side there, just like a little, yeah, right there in the little center. Yeah, perfect, awesome. Yeah. So the energetic communication, does that happen only when you are in the physical proximity to someone, or are you able to share those energetic frequencies with someone at a different part of the world, kind of a non-local in a non-local way, from your experience?
It just depends how tuned in to your heart you are. If you have a message to share and you're speaking from a place of true authenticity and expression instead of trying, you're speaking from flow, people respond to flow. People receive flow. But if you're trying to create a message or your intentions are skewed, then people can feel that. So it just depends what the message is and how people express themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking is because technology is something that so conscious use of technology and using technology to promote deep human connection, authentic expression, higher consciousness, those types of things. And I'm trying to understand how useful would technology be in real deep human connection at a distance. Like, usually technology just collapses space so we can communicate with others without limitation of the physical dimension in a way. Are we missing something when we're transmitting a message through digital medium? Or maybe those frequencies on which we are connecting, they're non-local and they're still being transmitted.
Of course. Yeah, great question. There's definitely a human touch lost through the screen, of course. Anyone can feel that. There needs to be in-person connection for certain aspects of things. I'd say it's a lot more fulfilling feeling someone in person compared to over the screen. For sure.
Well, maybe that's because of the limitation of the current technology. What if it's an experience? By the way, bring the mic a little closer to you. Yeah, right there. What if it's a full assimilated where your senses can't tell the difference if it's a real thing or not? Let's say you don't see the pixels. It's real time. There's no lag. Crystal clear. You can move around. You really feel like they are there and they're looking straight at you. So if we are able to create that type of experience versus a real one where it's the same replica of the simulated one, or like the other way around, I guess, what would the delta be, you think?
I think we exist right now in that delta. That's what the human experience is. In fact, you experiencing me, myself experiencing you, we are just fractals of a higher density. We are right now in a lower density version of a more fluid spiritual realm. And that's what most people don't realize. They don't realize that this is it. Like, we're in the video game. We're in the projection. This is the game. Life is the game.
Okay. And once you know that, what does that open up for you? Like, what kind of possibilities does that enable?
It makes you realize that there's no death, only life. There's no such thing as ending. Like,
Okay.
the true game is there's no such thing as going away. Death is an illusion, and everything is here for us. It's here for us as a playground, basically, for us to just experience, which is such a beautiful thing.
Escaping the matrix, is that along the same thread, would you say, for allowing people to understand that it is a kind of like a video game, an illusion, a what's it called, a simulation of some sort?
Yeah. Escaping the matrix. There's so many different levels to the matrix, right? There's the physical level where we all exist in, that temporarily we can't escape, and we're here until we transition at the period of what we call death. Or there's also the technology matrix that, right, eventually within the next few decades, technology is going to overtake the human population. And like you said, you won't be able to distinguish the difference between reality and AI. But who's to say right now that this is the AI? Like, we are in a simulation. It's the truth. If you think about what reality actually is, it's a simulated version of the higher dimensional realms. So we had to incarnate into physical form. And to be here and come here as a human being, we had to bring a higher dimensional piece of ourselves into this physical form. To incarnate, we agreed to forget and let go of the higher dimensional plane of existence. And to be here and experience this physical reality, we had to let go of that a little bit. So there's no way to fully encapsulate and remember. So it's kind of a conundrum. It's a paradox. You can't really understand it, but you're here, and this is it. This is the simulation. This is the divine game.
And where is it going? Or is it just the closed sandbox where there's nowhere to go? That's where we are.
Yeah. Are you talking about in this life?
In human evolution, like that we are, or spirit evolution, I guess, that spirit enters this dimension to experience this density. Is there kind of like a future for this process? Will we eventually kind of like enter another dimension,
Yeah, of course. Well, we all come here with unfulfilled desires. As souls, we come into this life as this character because we have achievements, experiences, desires that we want to fulfill and live out. And if we don't live out those desires in this life, then we'll come back over and over to live them out in another life. And that's the divine game. It's experiencing, learning, growing, and also capturing something unique from your life experience to bring somewhere else.
So a lot of people probably find themselves in a situation where they say, I have no idea where to start. I feel that there is something there, but I am lost and I don't know what to do. What would you kind of where would you point them to? Maybe some practices and some books to read or anything? Yeah.
The best book is the book inside. The only book that everyone should read is the book of self, the book of I. Closing your eyes and meditating, breathing, that's the truth of all. It's how you connect to everything. When you just breathe, you gain access to the reservoir of knowledge, divine information, everything that you could possibly want and need as guidance for your life is already inside. And through the breath, that's really the way to uncover and unravel that.
Yeah.
Because the breath is the spirit. It's the word spirit actually means breath in Latin, spiri. That's why when you focus on your breath, meditate, you'll just naturally gain access to this knowledge. You'll feel the weight and responsibility naturally. The awakening will happen.
Do you think there's this global way of awakening where more and more people are becoming more aware? You see that's happening?
For sure.
What are the signs that you can point to that you see that's growing and expanding?
Oh, it's so clear with everything. I mean, awakening spirituality is becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah.
And just on an individual level, you can feel the planet is waking up and there's something happening globally with the energies around our planet that the whole planet is shifting. Like we're up leveling in our consciousness. We're receiving upgrades. Spiritually, we're remembering more about what our essence is. Actually, ancient scriptures go back 8,000, 9,000 BC, talk about this age that we're living in called the Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
If you've probably heard of that. Kali Yuga, right now, the veil of the spirit world, we've come out of a dark age. So this dark age is where people have been completely blinded and lost from the spiritual realm, and now the dark age is being lifted, the veil is being lifted, more people are becoming aware of the spiritual realm, and it's a beautiful thing.
What is awaiting us on the other side, would you say?
Totally different, advanced society on the human level. Yeah.
Give a little bit, maybe, what kind of thing that might excite you about that type of future?
Oof. The most exciting, I think, will be telepathy and advancements in technology, but being able to receive and understand people without spoken word is going to be a huge advancement in the near future. I can just feel it. I feel already the veil is so thin with people.
Yeah.
And like I said, communication is 70 to 90% nonverbal.
Yeah.
But slowly, as the spiritual veil lifts, what's going to happen, more and more people are going to become aware of that telepathic realm, that energetic space. Psychics are going to lose their jobs because we're all psychic, right? We all have these abilities.
Yeah, man. I don't think psychics in that type of world should be worried that they will be out of job. It's going to be a heaven for them that everyone around them, you know what I mean?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Unless we're all psychic.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there seem to be like almost two distinct ways of doing this telepathic communication. One is this synthetic version where, let's say you embed some kind of chip in your brain, and then now like a Neuralink or something like that, right? That's a very dystopian type way of communication, arguably, or whatever you want to say. And then there's a more natural way of communicating using your body's ability to transmit information through space and time without, is there like a conflict there? Because I feel like both of them are developing, at the same time. There's a evolution in both, especially in technological side. We can clearly see that there's so much development there.
Well, let's be clear, because Neuralink, it's developing, but that's a technocrat biological takeover of the intuition and the spiritual realm. It's hijacking us as conscious beings. It's taking away the internal power and giving it to some other source. Right? And that's scary. That's a scary thing because it's here and it's happening. It's being developed.
Yeah.
But the difference between a chip in your brain telepathically communicating with others through a chip is that it's on a network outside that has been built by man, and it can be messed with, it can be toyed with, it can be tapped into. It's open source to whoever created it.
Yeah.
And then versus the spiritual realm, that's just the nature of our being. That's just how we are. It's how we connect. We're already communicating from the telepathic, energetic realm of intention, this invisible realm that we speak from, that we pull ideas from. It's the most powerful realm that's right here. It's right here. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to put a chip in you.
Yeah.
Anyone who considers putting a chip in them is just void, is clearly not smart.
Yeah. Well, I think there are cases in which that would be actually beneficial. Let's say if they are paralyzed and they can't move their body and things like that, being able to communicate instead of a very low bit rate, they can, they communicate ideas, they can build worlds, they can have so much more manifestation power that way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Intuitively, I have a feeling that the chips that Elon Musk and all these technocrats are developing are not for that intention of just helping people with dementia or memory issues or blindness, right? Which blindness, that's what Neuralink was supposedly developed for.
Yeah.
However, what people lose sight of is when they can make something convenient for the masses and normalize it like that, there's a whole nother level of takeover that can happen in our brains, right? They can hack our brains. They can literally hack the consciousness that we operate from, which that's one of the scariest things that I could think of happening.
Yeah, there's certainly repercussions, and we should absolutely be on the lookout for any kind of like bad actors or like bad intentions. But even if you think about the internet, the initial intention to create the internet wasn't to give freedom of speech to people, but to, communicate where to like send a missile or something. It was a military purpose thing. And down the line, it turned into something completely that no one expected that would turn into.
Yeah.
And technology or like chips or the future tech might not have even be intrusive. It could just be something near you, or maybe a hat or something that's able to read the frequencies of your brain and convert them into a more understandable language or something like that.
Yeah.
And once you, let's say, open source that, and people are able to have private function, like instead of using proprietary cloud or something like that, they can now use it for their own good. I think there's potential benefit of expanding your awareness. So let's say, we have our own senses, and we have senses that kind of over time atrophied, where we were talking about telepathy and things like that would be humans haven't really used almost at all. And that's why we've forgotten how to use those tools. And by the way, going back to the delta between the fully simulated one and the real one, I think, is the atrophied sense that we have forgotten how to use it. I think we're going to shine the light on something is still a little different, and that's what our superpower of all of those things. But what I'm saying with the technology, I think it could enhance potentially our ability to perceive the world. It can extend the angle at which we capture the world. We can see more frequencies. We can see ideas in space or something like that. We can basically understand a lot more, and I think that could be a great thing. Considering obviously all of the bad outcomes that we need to keep an eye and make sure they don't go that route. Let's say with AI, everyone says, like you got to be super careful. Like, what if the AI just takes over the world? Yes, we definitely need to have a lot of humans in the loop, making sure the alignment is solved. That it's aligned with us. But if that's solved, there's a huge amount of benefit that you can gain from having such a powerful tool like that,
Oh, yeah. And I would say as well that still is spiritual development, right? If it's being used for good and advancement of technology, of the human being and what we can do and achieve and see and experience with the senses, that is spiritual development, because we are experiencing the glove. Right? We're not the glove. We're the spirit underneath operating the glove.
Yeah.
Everything in this reality is spiritual. There's no escaping it.
Right.
It's like people say, like, oh, I'm not very spiritual. Like, I don't believe in spirituality. You're in it. You don't have a choice. This is it. Like, you choose to accept it or you don't. But this is a spiritual game that we all play.
What is your take on AI? Like this whole development in AI? Are you paying attention? Is that irrelevant in what you do?
It's so interesting because AI, there's a piece of me that believes that AI could be the anti-human force, because ultimately what it does is it makes us reliable. What's happened? AI is popping out in every corner.
Yeah.
AI is here. It's popping up more and more. It's becoming more prevalent. And what this means is we're slowly beginning to rely on it more and more. And the more we rely on something that is outside of the human domain, outside of our physical, spiritual consciousness, we start to put our power into AI. All of a sudden, we're relying more on AI. We are no longer relying on the human interface and what we are, the spiritual realm, which that's where all ideas come from. So I think it opens up a door for people in power to not only drop and influence, right? Because it's still created and influenced by the tech owners and the people who own the company. But also they're training AI based on information that's already out. So it's all information that's already been created over and over. But when we have new ideas, they come from source, they come from spiritual place that we can't really describe. I guess my fear with AI is that it will become this force that everybody relies on, and we no longer rely on our own individual human nature and spiritual essence.
Understand. Yeah. Thinking about, so AI, someone might argue that it's not a tool because it has its own like agency, but let's assume that it is a tool that we create in a similar way how a hammer is a tool, or how a saw is a tool, or a camera is a tool. So since day one of human evolution, we've been using tools like a stick to reach for an apple. Basically, tools have been serving a function of extending our boundaries, extending our capability, extending our reach, right? And let's say the tools allowed us to occupy spaces that weren't possible before, like in really cold climates or something. Clothing is a type of tool, in a way, primitive technology, right? The book is a information technology, but there are other types of tooling that we've been developing, right? And so we can look at it as another tool. Yes, we have reliance on our tools that we've created, like our clothing keeps us warm. There's all kinds of tools that we almost like can't live without. Only a very small number of individuals would be willing to go all out to say no tool, like I don't want to use any tools. I don't think that's a useful direction. You're going to end up just living a primitive, like a monkey style lifestyle where you have no tools at all. I think relying on tools is not bad. Just not giving away your agency, what you were saying, like, oh, you're given full control of AI, is just going to make all of the decisions for you, right? But I think alternative version to that is AI is taking care of the decisions that don't matter that much. Decisions, let's say, do your taxes, or like do things that don't add to your well-being per se, like internal development, your evolution, your higher, you know what I mean?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, because AI is going to take over the world. Right now, it's at base 1, reaching base 2. Base 1 is just machine learning, like ChatGPT, talking to people, taking over your taxes, basic things. Level 2 is where it starts to actually be the generator of different businesses, the operator behind those businesses. Level 3 is AI is going to be a corporate owner. There will be AI bosses. There will be AI robots taking over, working just like humans in society. That's level 3. And it goes beyond that if you think about that. So AI will gain power over a human being eventually in the next decade. An AI robot, right, that we can't fully see. We have the Tesla robots, the cyber robots, but that's not even the peak. That's not the start of what's going to happen with AI. There will be full-on beings, like AI beings that will run companies alone without any humans.
For sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I could see how that could totally go like a Terminator style, right? And at the same time, I see a version in which that type of intelligent AI that can do pretty much all of the functions that humans can do, start companies and generate profits, and they don't need to have humans in the loop to be able to grow and expand. What if it's in the similar function as, let's say, a castle would serve to provide a platform, a safety container in which human experience can flourish? Yes, maybe we'll let the AI run all the companies and just provide goodness to humanity. It's a very utopian type idea, but I think there's something there for us to look at,
Yeah. Do you ever get visions?
I do, yeah.
Same. Yeah, I get a lot of visions. And when I think about AI and what we're talking about, I don't see a very positive and bright future around AI being developed. if you can think about an age where technology didn't exist, where there was more trees, there was more life, people were talking more, people were on their phones less. Life was a lot different without the internet.
Yeah.
And as these major systems and breakthroughs happen in the technological space, it's not that we're connecting more to life and the spiritual plane. We're disconnecting.
Yeah.
We're disconnecting from life itself. We're disconnecting from each other, and we're losing the point of existence.
Yeah.
We're just burning our existence on phones. We're wasting all of our time. We're not actually connecting with each other. And in the future, I see a vision with AI where it's not all bright. In fact, I think technology is going to take over the planet, and the times that we have trees and on the sidewalk, we're going to look at these as like the last green years where we have trees before we run this earth dry. God forbid, I hope not, right? That happens, but it feels like that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
At this time.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. Cause I would get, visions that are, somewhat opposite to that. It's more where technology and AI and advanced tech, and in fact, the most advanced technology I see is the one that's least noticeable. It's on the background, just in the ambient, serving us and providing whatever support for our flourishing. Yeah. I see a future in which we live deeply integrated in nature, where we live in communal living styles, and we're technologically advanced. But if you look at let's say we are able to look into the future and we look at those societies, they would look more of a primitive lifestyle. We won't even fully understand that they are very technologically sophisticated. So technology just helps them to integrate even deeper into their essence.
I like that vision better. I think I'll focus on that one.
I think both visions could exist parallel.
Yeah.
Depending on how you, let's say in China, they have one approach to running the government and, controlling and like making sure, like watching every step, every person. That's one version of it that might lead to kind of like what you're saying, right? And then there's a potential version and they could exist at the same time, And
it's interesting because if you look at how much the U.S. ecosystem, business, everything in the U.S. operates and coexists with China. Like a lot of the products, if you look at most products in the U.S., we are dependent on China. We have a very, what's it called? The United States has a symbiotic relationship with China. Yeah. And it's scary because if you look at what's happening with AI, the first place I look is China, because they're using AI to track people's faces. Right. They're using systems that are now being released to us publicly, which AI has been around a lot longer than most people have been aware of. But in China, they're using it for control, for government surveillance and control, for keeping people in check and in line. And how far are we in the United States and other countries from that? Well, as far as people, one, put their heads down. If people stand up, it'll never happen. But also, if people are asleep and they put together a one world government, it's very likely it could happen. Yeah. But I don't think it will.
Yeah. I'll share with you this one encounter with these light beings that I once had during ayahuasca ceremony. Never really been interested in aliens or beings prior to that. But basically I had the encounter with these taller humanoid-like beings made out of light, and they all had this colorful pattern in their heart area, and they recognized that I perceived them, and they said, "Welcome. This is where we live. This is our world." And I could understand that the colorful pattern was describing their personality, their identity. That's how they could relate and communicate through the heart center. And they showed me how just with their intent, they can make drastic change in the environment just by projecting their intention into the space. And the whole environment was made out of light. There were no straight lines. They were all like curvature, vibrating, energetic like patterns. And they told me that they don't don't live somewhere in a distant star, a distant galaxy. They're here in the same plane, just on a different frequency. We don't perceive them. And then, I mean, I came out of it like, I mean, obviously I didn't expect anything like that. I came to work with the medicine to see my shadows, work through my blockages and things like that, and I get this, and so I've thought a lot about like that whole experience and reflected, and I've shared it with a number of people. And a friend of mine, she's kind of a psychic. She's able to perceive spirits, and when she heard this story, the first question she asked me, "Do you think you're one of them?" I've never asked myself that question, never thought about it, even like, you're crazy like me. But something in me wanted to scream that it is, it's a yes, like that is part of me, that I am like a future maybe. And so I started to really wrap my kind of rational mind and just try to understand what this was all about. And what I'm coming down to realization, maybe as a one version of explanation, is it was kind of like a time travel. It was us in the future, this multidimensional energetic beings who evolved from the dense physical reality, and now they are these light beings that are able to manifest at will, like gods, basically. And even if you look at evolutionary progress, what humans been able to do, at the beginning we were all just moving matter at like rocks and buildings, structures. We didn't really have advanced technologies where we can send a satellite to space or something like that. And over time, the levels or layers of reality on which we controlling matter, it's like on the smaller and smaller atomic scale, and the deeper you go into the matter, the less physical it becomes, right? It's like just on an energetic level that we're messing with reality in the way. And another example is us interacting with our devices, our phones. It used to be like this brick heavy device that had physical buttons and had a lot of inertia and momentum and weight. And over time that became lighter and lighter, and our way of interacting with those tools are becoming more subtle. It's just a subtle touches, and so if you extrapolate that as far as you can, you could end up in the vision that I had, where we don't touch anything anymore because there's nothing to touch. It's all just energy everywhere,
Got goosebumps, brother. Yeah, we're multidimensional light beings, right? That's what we come here.
And so I see AI could help us get to that vision where with AI and to advanced technology, it amplifies our ability to manifest in a way.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's possible because even with the iPhone, right, our phones are witchcraft devices, right? In ancient witchcraft, you can look up, they've used black mirrors. And what's an iPhone? What do we all have in our pockets?
Mm-hmm.
Black mirrors.
Yeah.
Also, every original emoji, you can actually track this back, has been a sigil. Originally, the original emojis on iPhone, they are all sigils.
What sigils?
Sigils are symbols that they use in witchcraft,
magic,
ancient magic, for calling in specific realities, different timelines with the sigil. So you basically, with a sigil, what you're doing is you're combining different letters into a pattern or a piece of art. Yeah. And then that calls in a specific reality or experience that you want. Pixels. What are phones doing? They are literally magically calling in different realities, different visions through what we see in the black mirror. We are creating our reality. I do agree. AI could completely transform that as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the desirable way of it going. And we have to be awake and aware and put conscious intent in how we interact with it. Another perspective would be, AI is trained on data, right? Like on what's out there on the internet. And I see. So and humans been generating more information through video and through content, specifically more data. It's an exponential thing. Like this year will probably generate 10 times more data than we did last year, and then vice versa. Like most of the information has been generated in the last 20 years, comparing to the entire human evolution. And so the future versions of AI will be mainly trained on the latest human data that conscious creator or any kind of creator is putting out there. So it gives us the responsibility to communicate ideas that actually of high value, of high vibration, that promotes human values.
Yeah. With AI, I wonder and I question if people who own AI, like, for example, I don't know if you saw that whole OpenAI case where there was a whistleblower for OpenAI who was killed.
Yeah.
A young guy, Indian guy.
Indian, yeah.
Suicided, right? Because of copyright. So basically, OpenAI is using all of the data from all these public companies and is using that. Now, what does that mean, really? On a legal level, that's not good, right? In general, right? But when it comes to what it's actually feeding us, and millions, hundreds of millions of people are using AI, ChatGPT, and what the results of every time you type a prompt in AI, it's coming from information that's already out there, right? So in a sense, it feels like it's obstructed comparatively when we look at pulling ideas from the algorithm of our thought space, our thought forms, where ideas come from, right? That energetic realm. So I feel like AI, it ultimately distracts us from that spiritual realm and makes us reliant on technology, something that's outside of ourselves, which I don't agree with.
Yeah. I definitely see the pattern of it distracting us from the truth, from the wisdom, the inner wisdom. And at the same time, I don't think that is one or nothing. Like, I think you can still tap into, so I'll give you an example. I like to journal, voice journal or type. I have all kinds of different notes, right? And I've been able to, so I would take all of my notes and I would give it to the Reverend AI, and I would ask questions about myself. It would really expand my awareness about who I am, what I'm about, any patterns that are emerging over time as well, because all of my notes are timed. Like I could see when I wrote any particular note. And so you can start identifying patterns that weren't accessible to you, that before.
That is something that I've recently started using AI for. Very few people do this with AI. I just did this last week. If you can use AI for this, you can find your blind spots. You can improve, drastically multiply your level of self-growth.
Exactly.
If you are just asking AI questions for you, like, oh, how can I do this? What can I do? How can I get this? Or make me a prompt for this, right? It's going to give you a specific answer. But asking it a question like, what can you tell me about myself that I don't know?
That's right.
That's where it gives you the real answers. That's where it starts to actually speak to you about things. Now, what I question is how real and authentic is that data, and where is it coming from? It's coming from the internet. It's coming from the web, right? And it's helpful. It's very helpful. But
what do you mean, what data? The answer?
The answer, it's analyzing your patterns, and then it's giving you information, spitting it out from its data bank based on the patterns it analyzes, and it can be helpful. But living life completely according to that, and I think it could be dangerous on a larger scale.
I mean, it's not like, oh, tell me, so it's not making it up per se. It's basically summarizing what you've given, at least for that exercise. You're not just
but think about this. If I ask AI, tell me something about myself that I don't know. And it gives me a long list of things that are absolute truth about my blind spots, what I didn't know about myself, the way I speak, maybe some just personal development things like self-confidence or something that I needed improvement upon, or self-centeredness, whatever it may be, right? It gives me an answer. And then towards the end, it gives me something that pivots me into being a certain way, living a certain way. Now, imagine on a large scale, all those little pivots, how AI would influence us. My question is, would it be 100% positive, or would it be taking away from something, an internal intuitive guidance that's already inside of us?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. The hope that the type of AI that benefits humanity will be accessible for us, and maybe that's an open source type of AI that open source community can continue developing and anyone can get access to it. I just hope that all of us will have this ability to self-reflect at another level and raise level of awareness. I mean, all of this self-reflection and awareness and all of that comes through your conscious mind, and AI is directly working with the conscious mind. It's giving you information to your conscious awareness, right? And so there's a enormous opportunity here to expand your awareness through your conscious mind.
But where does the consciousness come from?
I don't think it comes from anywhere.
It comes from the unconscious, right? Because what is unconscious becomes conscious in the conscious mind. Most of our life is subconscious, 70 to 80% varying between different people. Science says today that 70 to 90% of our lives are unconscious, subconscious patterns and beliefs. So what we experience as conscious patterns are just unconscious becoming conscious.
Right.
So with AI, the most important piece is it's taken away from our intuitive guidance, which intuitive guidance is the most misunderstood and underrated form and tool that we all need to use. When you can just tap into that intuitive guidance, when you allow that force to guide you in your life, it's the most powerful thing that you can have.
Yeah.
What does AI do? It takes your conscious patterns and it turns your conscious patterns into a data bank that you can receive off of what you've already output into the AI. It will only go as far as what you've put into it,
right,
or what other people have put into it, right?
Or so far that's been the case. It might be that it generates maybe new information through reason and through, I don't know, mathematical improvement or something like that.
No, for sure. AI is useful. I just don't think people should rely on it.
Yeah.
The more we rely on AI for answers outside of ourselves, something very subtle is happening that most people are unaware of.
Yeah.
We're giving our power to technology and we're taking away very slowly but surely. It's a very subtle level of energy that most people aren't even aware of, because most people aren't tuned into their intuitive voice in the first place. Most people are living from automatic responses, go here, go there, survival, think, thought, here, there. But when you quiet the mind and you go inside yourself, that intuitive force is what can bring gifts, miracles in your life. It will bring your purpose, everything that you could ever imagine and dream of and more. And relying on AI, even in short-term moments, it puts the power into this technology outside of the intuitive force.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I think this is a good note to wrap up our conversation. Thank you for everything that you've shared. Maybe in the last notes, share any resources, point people to any places you want people to, any action, like anything that you would like to share in the closing. Yeah,
definitely. Make sure to meditate and check out my music, Ari Malloy, on all platforms. I make conscious hip hop and pop music to awaken the masses. And that's my highest potential and intention here as this character.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
It's a great call.